What is up? It is yours truly, Zuda, bringing you another quick little strategy video. I don't think this one's going to be too long. The amount of footage that I'm going to show is actually maybe a minute long, but it's some pretty important stuff, I think, that everyone can kind of take something away from this short little clip. This video is a video that me and Give You Anxiety made. It's kind of just to show the importance of unit control. And what I mean by unit control is having your units attacking the right units, having your units attacking the units that they actually counter. And I think a lot of people, especially when they get into big fights, they just kind of draw a box around everything and they just kind of attack move and they right click and they hope for the best. And although in big fights you do have to do that to an extent because there's just so much going on in the fight, you can still to an extent apply some of the things you're going to see here in some of these smaller fights. And when you are fighting in smaller fights, these are the things that you can do to really build yourself an advantage, especially in the early and mid game. So the first example video that I'm going to show is a video of just two players attack moving into each other. And we're going to see myself and Give You Anxiety. We've each just, you can see we've got loads of resources. We've just built up a little bit of a base and made some units in our base, and we're just kind of running units at each other around 15-ish pop at a time, 15 to 20 pop at a time. So yeah, so that's what is going on here. And so this first example is me playing Greek against him playing Greek, and what he's making is he's got 8 Spearmen and 8 Tox, and I've got 8 Hippospis and 4 Seri. And those units, in theory, should pretty much even out. They're both double counters to each other. The Seri counter the Tox counter the Hippa counter the Spear, and the Spear counter the Seri. It's just one big circle of counter units. But what you're going to see here is if you control your units well and you control your units properly, one of the combinations is always going to win. And so before I even start this first video, I want you just to be thinking in your head which combination you think is going to win, and which combination of those units you think is stronger. 8 Spear, 8 Tox, or 4 Seri, 8 Hippospis. So this first video is just the units being attacked move into each other. So just drawing a box around them, pressing the A key, and right clicking everything into each other. You can see here that I grab all of my units, which isn't good. I catch them before they get into the fight. But here, let's just pause the fight right here. So what do we see? We see his units, his Tox, and his Spearmen, and they're both just attacked moved into each other. And you can see here he's fighting what? He's fighting his Spearmen against my Hippospis, and his Tox are just kind of off in La La Land, shooting whatever they kind of gets close. And so here they hit on the Cav a little bit. Maybe these ones are hitting the Hippospis, but for the most part, man, they're not really fighting the units he wants them to be fighting, right? Like, these guys they're killing the Cav, yeah, but remember, the Cav have 30% range resist, while the Hippospis are just kind of alive here doing their thing, just hitting away, hitting away, hitting away. And so what you're going to see is, when both players are not really controlling their units and just attack moving into each other, boom. The Greek player with the Hippospis and the Cav wins. Not hard, but he wins by 4 pop. And if you have a 4 pop advantage at early in the game, this 4 pop can mean a raid on your gold mine, or it can push you off your wood line, or it can just build another advantage until the next fight. And then in the next fight I have 4 pop more, and then I snowball the fight even harder, and I snowball the fight even harder and harder and harder until I've got a 20 pop advantage, and then that's kind of difficult to deal with. So that was just the 2 units smashing into each other. We're going to look at it one more time. Pay close attention to how the units pretty much aren't fighting what they should be fighting. They're actually fighting pretty much exactly the wrong thing. The Tox are hitting the Cav all over the place. The Hippospis are just free to engage on the Spearman as much as they want. They're, they have the multiplier and they're just doing so much damage. And the Cav, yeah, they aren't hitting the right thing, but they're still doing damage. And then once the Spearmen all kind of get cleared up, then the Cav are really able to do work on the archers. So that's just attack moving in. And if you were to look at that composition, you say, well, it looks like the Hippospis and the Seri win because they just do. They came out, they have more advantage. But what happens when you take that same composition of units? You have 8 spear and you have 8 archers, and against 8 Hippospis, or maybe it was 6 Hippospis and 5 Cav, something like that. Even pop of counter-ish units, and you attack them into each other. Then what happens? So the next one we're going to look at, I think, is Untitled 45, or what did I rename it? I think I renamed it Small Fight. Yeah, this is the one we want. And we want to skip ahead to skip ahead to like right in here somewhere. So here, now I'm playing on the other side of it. I'm playing the spear and the archer comp. And watch what happens when you control the units this time. I'm just going to play it all the way through one time first, and then we'll go back and slow it down and look at some stuff. So when you control your units, notice I'm dancing back and forth, trying to get line of sight of the Cav, and as soon as I get line of sight of the Cav, I lied. I'm going to stop it right here. I start bringing the spear forward. And here you see, I'm trying to keep him safe, keep him away from the Hippospis, but at the same time I want to keep the Cav away from my archers. So I bring it up, I bring the spearmen up, I control my units, and here notice what I do. I split the fire of the archers to hit the Hippospis. And you always want to be trying to keep your units hitting the right units. So here you can see I've got my archers selected. I've got 4 of the 8 selected, and I'm right-clicking on the Hippospis. Well, the spearmen, meanwhile, are tasked at keeping the Cav away from the archers. So if you do that and you reposition your units well, and you control your units well, and you make sure the counter units are always hitting on the counter units, you can see what happens in the fight. I actually come out quite far ahead with the other composition. Now remember, the composition that won the fight earlier was the Cav and Hippospis composition. And you can see here, I've got 6 spearmen and a Tox left, which is a 7 pop advantage, which is a total of an 11 pop swing. So 4 pop the one way to 7 pop the other way. That's a 11 pop swing. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who would say that 11 pop at pretty much any point in the game isn't a big deal. I mean, yeah, maybe if you're late game and you're like 200 against 190 pop fighting in your base, then it's like, yeah, then it's whatever. But when you're fighting 15 pop of units and you have an 11 pop swing, that's pretty important. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at that one more time. I want you to pay attention very closely to how the units are controlled. Notice I keep the archers out front, right? They're dancing back and forth. And the reason I'm doing that is to give me some extra line of sight, so as soon as I see the Cav, I can instantly get a read on what the Cav are doing. Are the Cav out front? Are the Cav behind? Are the Hippospis out front? Are the Hippospis off to my side? If they're off to the side, and the Cav are on the other side, do I need to move my spearmen around to the side? You always want to be keeping your spearmen in the back for as long as possible, and you want them to mirror whatever side the Cav are on. So if the Cav are over here, you keep your spearmen behind your archers and off to the side. And as soon as the cavalry commit on your archers, that's when you commit your spearmen onto the cavalry. So we're going to take a look at it. We might pause it again. So bouncing back and forth, trying to get line of sight. There they are, right? So the instant I see them, you kind of have to analyze the scenario. What's happening? He's pretty much just got everything in a line, kind of face front. So pretty much what I want to do is I want to mirror that. I want wherever his Cav are, I want to mirror that with my spear. And so you can see here, I run back towards my spear, and I get them kind of, you see how these units are kind of mirroring each other? His line here, my line here. And once the Cav commit, I commit the spear. So he commits the Cav really early. He goes and he fights straight onto my archers right away. And so the second he starts fighting on my archers and committing, I commit the spearmen. So I commit the spearmen when he commits the Cav. And then right away you want to draw little boxes. Remember from the other micro tips video, you want to draw little boxes around your archers, and you want to focus fire the infantry. You want to kill the infantry so that he doesn't have a chance to have his Hippospis hitting on my spearmen for free. So I always am mirroring the cav with the spearmen, always trying to get the spearmen on top of the cav, and then draw little boxes around the archers and pick off the Hippospis. Here, boom. He moves his cav over here a little bit. I reposition my spearmen. You always want to be mirroring the cav. Here you can see one's kind of blocking these guys out. This guy, he's a little out of position. He's actually the one that ends up dying because he's the one that's not in the correct position. The rest of them, remember I had 7 that live. The rest of them are the ones that end up living because they're in the right spot. Strange as it may seem, units fighting against their counters usually end up staying alive. So here you can see I've drug a box of my spearmen around to try and help box these guys out and try and keep my archers safe, while at the same time drawing little boxes around my archers and picking off the Hippospis as best as I can. So wherever the cav move, my spearmen move. If his cav move back around here, my spearmen move back around here. And here at this point you can see the I'm pretty much far ahead in the fight. He's got some low HP cav, some low HP units. And I'm going to be okay, and then I just kind of clean up the rest. And the second, most of the Hippospis are done, the Hippospis die, see how I move my archers back? If you've killed the counter units, and these guys are dead. He's a good player. He knows that these guys are dead. He's going to try and kill as many units as he can with them because they're kind of snared and trapped. And so you can see how he's trying to still hit the archers, but I just kind of pull the archers back. Yeah, I lose one, but I pull the other one back so that he doesn't have really a chance to get another hit on that one. And I win the fight. So, basic idea, whenever you're microing any fight, you always want your counter units to mirror what they're supposed to be countering. Always try and keep your counters on his counters. And it may seem like a lot of extra work, or it may seem insignificant, or it may seem, like something that it's just something that's, something to keep you busy and click a lot, but it really is important. If you keep your units on the counter units and have good unit positioning, even if you attack move, as long as you have good unit positioning, you're going to win a lot of fights. And having good unit positioning is probably one of the most important things in the game. So, good unit positioning, having units fight against the proper counter units, win games. Peace out.